We're on page 2 and we have 2 pre-cuts. Let's review them really quick. We had a 4.5 by 9 5/16 and we called it a large pocket. The first thing we did, let me find my tool, is we laid this so we were 4.5 inches across and we scored at a 1/2 inch. We then rotated it and we are 9 5/16 across. In case you're wondering what 9 5/16 is if you look at your ruler or put it down on your scoring board, you will see where the 9 1/4 mark is and the 9 3/8. It's that small little line in between there. So that's 9 5/16. We scored at a 1/2 inch and then we scored it at 8 13/16. And in case you need help for where that mark is, that mark is in between the 8 3/4 and 8 7/8. We called it a large pocket. We had one more pre-cut. It's large, 8 1/4 by 9 1/2, and we just called that a top flip. We laid this on our scoring board, so we are 9 1/2 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8. Let's get our page 2 out. We set this off to the side and we're going to prep and get our large pocket ready. So we have score lines on the side. We have one going across the bottom. It makes those squares. Let's cut out those squares. Then we're going to fold on the score lines and then we will tack it down like we have before on the pockets. Welcome back, by the way, part 2, page 2. I should have said that in the very beginning. Okay, so this is at the top and all we're going to do is put glue on our little flaps. And we are going to bring it down to the bottom of our decorative paper and we will glue that down. And the opening is there, of course. This page won't take us very long to do. If you'd like to pucker it up a little bit, you can get more in there. All right. Next thing we're going to do, find our paper for our top flip. Now we're not going to install this quite yet. I think it'll be easier to work with if we first find our paper. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print. Let's go ahead and take off that trim piece. Once you have that off, let's turn it to where we're looking at this side. Turn your sheet like this. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. For now, we'll put this in our reserves. It's a good piece. We'll flip it over. We're going to look at it like this, where all the flowers are up there. Measure over 8 1/2 inches and cut. We're not going to glue this down just yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to have it to where we're looking at it like this, and we're going to make this come down at an angle. So let's get our ruler. From this side, I would like you to measure over 2 inches, and we'll just put a little pencil mark. From this side, we'll do the same, 2 inches in. And then from the bottom up, we are going to measure 1 1/2. Put a dot and 1 1/2 over here. Whoops, get my mark. We're going to take our ruler and we're going to draw a line from here to here. Now, if you're someone who has a hard time getting these straight, or you make a mark and it never seems to come out, what you can do is first cut this and then flip it over for a pattern. And I can show you that really quick. I'm going to draw this line though. Where did my 1 1/2 go? There it is. But I'll show you another way that I've always liked to do. So if I was to draw the line like that, let's first cut over here. So to make sure you get them even though we're measuring. So as you can see, I cut that off. I'm just going to rotate this over and take a look. And it should be the same thing. You can always just grab this and cut it. So just in case. These little guys, just put them in your reserves. So that's another way to get an exact. Okay, so this is now our, we'll put that in reserve, our pattern. We need to get another piece like this, and again, this will be our pattern because we're going to end up cutting this, and we want the back side to match. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. All right, to make sure that we all have the same leftovers, we're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. And this is what we should have. We will turn it sideways, measure over 8.5 inches and cut. So this is the piece that we're looking for. And what we're going to do is you're going to want to have this side up and this one goes over. So I'm just going to kind of do my thing there. And then I'm going to draw that line. Whoops. And I'll do that over here. And now I'm going to cut. And these pieces we will put in our reserves. So now we can just flip that over. That one's going to be ready to go. Let's grab our top flip and we're going to fold on those score lines. This is a good page for our placing our picture mats in, plus we have all this big space just to put our photographs, as well as we can also plant a photograph here if we wanted. So I folded on both of those, and right now what I want to do is, here's my flap, and you see your bottom score line, just pinch and tuck all that back behind. You will not be able to see your other score line. All we're doing right now is looking at what we need to cover. If we were to apply glue to this, which we are going to center that top, bottom, side to side. So you should have the same amount of white border going all the way around your sides here. Okay, so let's glue that down. You'll also have it down here. We're going to first glue that down, then we're going to cut. That'll be so much easier so that it does not move on us. Don't jump ahead and glue down the one that goes on the back, because we do have to do a magnet and we have to get this hooked on first. So my flowers are going to be up at the top, and I'm just going to try and keep this as straight as I can. I think that's good enough. Alright, you can use your ruler if you prefer to get a straight line and try to keep the same amount. I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to cut this. If it's not exact, I'm not going to worry about it. So I got that, and I'll do the same over here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so this is what we have now. Let's grab this flap, and you have 2 score lines. The top one, we're going to pinch and crease, so now we will be able to see that other score line. We're going to hook that right on the top over the back. We'll pinch, and we will hold that and glue down the flap. My Roomba is going in the background. He's coming towards this room. I think it's going to get louder. I'm going to have to go turn him on. Okay, once I've done that, I can now push up on that. I'm going to flip this open and grab a plus and a minus. All right, I'm going to come down probably 3/4 from the top, plant it in the middle, put the mate on, and now this is where I'm going to make sure that I am flat against the top. There's a good spacing, and I might even give this a little bend, not much, and then just let it fall and press. And to get that back up, I'll just shimmy it over. This is the piece that's going to go on here. And make sure you don't get it on your score line, but the way we did this, we should be able to, you know, it looks like it's upside down, the print, but I'm not going to worry about it. It is so faint, you're not going to be able to tell. And now we're going to place it. So now you should be able to latch. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back is the tags. Let's turn it this way. The little tags are down here. Measure over 3 7/8 and cut. This is the piece that we want. We're going to measure over 8 1/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Let's turn it over, make sure our writing is correct. If you are not die cutting, then you can go ahead, place this evenly side to side. You'll have a little bit of white border here, here, and here, and glue that down. Those of us that are using die cuts, what we're going to do is this. If you notice, and I'm going to show you how to do it, if you were to just die cut that piece, it comes out like this. So grab a piece that's at least 2 inches, and you can always cut it down 2 inches this way. And what you're going to want to do, and I call it piggybacking, to get it this long, is you'll take your bracket after you die cut this, and when you die cut it, make sure, let's see, my piece here is, it's about 11 inches wide. Once you do that, you're going to come back with one of your brackets, and you're just going to line it up and bring it over to the edge of your other one, and you'll die cut. When that's done, then you can go ahead and come in this side and line it up, top and bottom, right next to that, and die cut. And what that will give you is one long piece. Once you have that, the idea is we're going to be placing it going across like this. So I'm going to be cutting mine down. Of course, this part's fine because I left some room. But down here I am going to cut it down a bit. So I cut mine down, and now I'm just going to try and center it right on in there as best I can so it looks good. I think that's about centered for me. And then I'm just going to cut this to fit. Just make some pencil marks and cut. And then I'll glue it down. So this is my piece, and now I'm going to apply glue, and I'm going to glue that down. So let's take a look now at what we got. And it should look something like that. We're going to add a few more things, but first, let's go ahead and get this ready for the book. We're going to put them in the book, and then we will add our extra. So on this, we're going to go score tape around the outside like a picture frame. We'll go one down the middle and one on either side, and I will meet you at the book. All right. So I have all my score tape on the back, and I've burnished down. And I'm going to show you something here that might be helpful if I can find something. Just so you can see. We're working on page 2. We're going to put page 2 in first. I did burnish, but I do need to clip off some overhang here. I might burnish that again really quick. So, page 2. Since it's white, you can't see my edges, right? So I'm going to put that there so you can kind of see what I'm doing. My work area is just a mess right now. Oh my gosh. So the idea is when we are placing this in, we are going to leave a 1/4 inch away from our hinge. And we're going to try to center that top and bottom on our page, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish really quick, and then I'm going to place this down with you. All right, I got the score tape backing off. I have this here so you can see my edge, and I'm going to be looking to make sure I am 1/4 inch away from this hinge. And I don't want to get my head in the video, so I'm going to be very careful here on trying to place this, but I think that this is good right here. I'm going to move that now. Once you have it in, you can burnish. And this is very important as well, to get it to make contact to your inner page. Now let's grab our page 1. Here's our page 1. And the reason why we do this one first, it is easier to line up the top and the bottom of this with the top and bottom of this page, because the inner chipboard is bigger than our inner pages. So for this, you can kind of line this up with the width here of our inner page that we had cut at 8.5 if you want. The idea is to stay away from that hinge and to try and get this centered and the same as this. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my score tape backing, and I'm going to place mine. You can kind of see. And you do not have to rush through this at all. Just take as much time as you need. If you'd like to squirt a little bit of glue in between, you can. But I think this is going to hold it down pretty good. Okay, I'm going the right way here. And again, I don't want to get my head in the video, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. But I think that that is fairly straight. Let's see. Yeah, it's close enough. I'm not going to worry too much about that. And I'm going to burnish. Okay. Let's do some flowers. And what I'm going to do is grab some leaves. Oh, here's a nice leaf. I think that might look good. Oh, that looks really nice, right like that. I'm just going to use that. And then I do need to put my glossy accents on my leaves. So as soon as I get this down, I'll just set my book over to the side and I'll place it on there. So I only need to do, for my leaves, halfway up. And a good thing to do is to kind of grab some scrap cardstock and kind of slip it underneath so you don't get glue accidentally. But that's all I'm going to do. You can do whatever it is that you would like to do. I'm just going to make this real simple because I have a lot going on, and I did want to bring in some of this other color in to kind of, it goes along. It looks good. And let's see, over here, what I would like to do, I think I'd like to put maybe some flowers in here. Maybe one. And again, you don't want to place a flower where it's going to knock onto each other's. Yeah. Let's see what I have. I found a little pink one, and I think I'll add that too. And my pearls are not dry. Just kind of making them as I go here. I'll put a couple of them here. All right, page 1 is in the book. Page 2 is complete. And I'm going to add my glossy accents, and I'm going to set this off to the side. And we are moving on to page 3. We're on page 3, and this is pretty simple. Let's go over our pre-cuts. First off, if you are die cutting, you'll want to die cut one of these. And as far as what I left here, it's about 3/4 of an inch of white cardstock underneath. All right, let's get going on this. So we cut a 3 5/8 by 9 5/16, and we called it a large pocket. We laid this on our scoring board to where we were 3 5/8 across, and we scored it at a 1/2 inch. We then turned it. We are now 9 5/16 across. We scored at a 1/2 inch, and then we had scored, and you would have wanted to use your ruler or the notch in between here, but that's 8 13/16 is where we scored. Next, we had a 5 1/2 by 9 inch piece. We first laid it so we are 5 1/2 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2 and 5 inches. We then turned this, so now we are 9 inches across, and we just scored that right in the middle at 4 1/2 inches. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous print, and on the back, it is this. First, we're going to take off the trim piece. So once we do that, we'll look at it like this so that we make sure we have the same leftover cuts. We're just going to measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We'll put that in reserves. Next, what we're going to do is we'll just turn it like this. We'll measure over 10 inches and cut. Go ahead and put the skinny piece in your reserves. We'll just flip that right over, and we're going to turn it upside down. And I know the print in the background is going to be upside down, but it's so faint. We're just going to have it to where the flowers are up here. And it's not going to matter because you really can't read that writing. Let's grab our large pocket. And down here in the corners, we're going to clip out those little squares. Now don't jump ahead. If you are a die cutter, wait a moment before folding. So down here is our score line, and we have a score line here and here. If you are die cutting, what I want you to do, hey, where did my piece go? Here it is we're just going to apply glue, and we're going to bring it all the way over into the margin past that score line. And we're just going to bring it like this, and we're going to glue that down first. If you're not die cutting, hang tight. Now die cutters, because we went over our score line there, I want to burnish that down just a little better. You might want to stick this on your scoring board and just kind of help out that little score line. That'll be easier for you. Okay, once you have that, and it does go to the right-hand side, by the way, we're going to fold. And the reason why we're not going all the way across is because this part gets covered anyway. So we're just going to carefully fold. If you're using the die cuts, my fingers are inky. I should go wash them here. I'm working with white. And we're just going to do the same thing we've done before. We're going to fold in the sides, and we're going to glue the flap up. Okay. So if you're using die cuts, this is what it looks like. If not, you'll have a nice clean looking pocket. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this down to the bottom of our piece. So die cutters, make sure you get up here on your thing. And you may want to get a scratch piece of paper, and I'll show you where we'll place that so that we don't get our glue and glued shut the side of our thing. Let's see. I have this. So here's my piece. Whoa! Here's my piece. I'm going to slide this back to where that flap is back behind, and then I'm going to place it down. And that way I can kind of tap to make sure that this part over here doesn't get glued in. Alright, next thing, in your paper pack you will find this print with all the trellises, and on the back it looks like this. Let's first take off that trim piece. So I'm going to kind of look at it where it's like this, and up here. What I'm going to do is, let me give you a measurement here. Take your ruler, and at 4 1/4, just make a little pencil line there. And from the top, we'll come down just underneath the little trellis So I'll bring this up. So I've got the 4 1/4 here, and then just right underneath, where am I here? Right underneath this, so I don't chop off this. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to stick this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut down to here and over. I'll get this out. Those of you that have a blade that lifts, it'll be a little easier for you, that's for sure. So about 4 1/4. There we go. I'm just going to bring this down just enough, and then I'll cut over. And I just want to try and keep everything kind of straight in case we need this back side. So that's the one that we want to get out, just like that. I'll put that in my reserves for now. We're going to flip this upside down, so a lot of the trellis is right over here, and we're going to glue that right on down. Now what you can do is trim off a little bit of the purple here so that you have a little bit of a white lip up there if you'd like. I might, and I think it's about a 1/16 or so. Just take that off, and we're going to glue that down. Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to grab my other pocket. And I think for this, what I'm going to do is, okay, you can see where the middle division is of that score line, and then we have them coming down. We're just going to cut up to this part and over. So we're only going to be cutting out a rectangular piece. So we'll just cut. If you'd rather put this on your paper cutter to make sure it's straight, do so. It's probably what I should have done. And I'm going to do it the same over here. Matter of fact, I am going to stick this on my paper cutter just to cut this part out. Okay, so now that you have that, let's go ahead and fold in on the back. And you can also push that up as well, but don't tack it down yet. So the side we're going to really concentrate on is the side that has these flaps, and we'll keep them at the top for now. In your reserves, you will locate this piece. Let's turn that upside down. The reason why we're doing it like this rather than look at it this way is because I want to make sure we have the same leftovers. Measure over 4 3/8 and cut. So that is what you should have. If you flip it over, let's see how we fit in there. And you should have a white lip. So if you want to fold that single piece back behind, so when your flaps are here, you can always pull in your side so you can see what you're looking at. And leave yourself white border here, here, and you're going to have this white lip, just like that. We're going to go ahead and place our glue. In your reserves, you will find this piece. On the back, it looks like this. So we're going to look at it where the flowers are over here. We'll measure over 4 3/8 and cut. And we will apply glue. And we will glue that down, leaving ourselves a little white lip at the top. Should fit side to side. Pretty good, at least. That looks good. All right, so here, I'm just going to fold this. Here is our flaps. Let's add our glue now. And we're just going to bring it over onto the other one and press. So we just created a little pocket, as you can see. And if you want to give it a little, after you glue it, little thing like that. We're going to take this pocket and we're going to glue it down right like this. So we do need something to put back behind, for sure. So I'm going to stick this back here in my pocket at scratch. And I'm going to look to see how far over I need to go. And I think it's right about here. And I will place my glue. That way I don't glue shut my other pocket. And I'm just going to get the edge, not going all the way up, of course. and I'll place this. Let's see. Oh, that looks pretty good. So now, here's a photograph. And it's not matted or anything, but you can slide it right on in the pocket. And once this is matted, you have plenty of room here to get something in there. Next, in your reserves, you will find this piece. We're going to kind of just, we'll go ahead and hand cut this. We'll use this piece the best we can. And I'm going to cut off that little bit. We got that. And we'll grab a couple birds down here. And I think, you see right up here, let's cut that out. Wasn't sure if we were going to need to have some straight cut lines on here, but I think we're okay. First thing we're going to do is cut out and around each one of these pieces. I'm going to divide my birds. So let's do that really quick. So I have all mine cut out, and what I have here are my birds. Just like that. This one I kind of just weaved around as best I could. And then I have this one. So let's take this one really quick, and we're just going to add glue back behind. And we'll get that down right here without going over the top. Just kind of center in there the best you can. Now grab some scratch cardstock, and you're going to glue that down, and we'll cut out and around, leaving a white border. And we're going to do the same with the little birds. So let's do that. And of course, I'll show you what mine looks like when I am done. I have all mine cut out. Here is one of my birds. Here is the other. Just do the best you can. And then there's this. If you are using leaves, oh, someone's at the door. Hang tight. Well, they're going to bark for just a bit. There's a gentleman outside working in the yard doing some helping us to get things cleaned up. Grab some leaves if you're working with it, a couple small flowers, and grab this back out of your reserves. You see this one right here? We're going to cut that out. Oh, they'll settle down here in a minute. And I'll put that back in reserves. And I'm just going to cut around this. Okay, so we have all the pieces to the puzzle here. So what we're going to do on this page is we're going to take some of our leaves, and I think I'm just going to, let's see here. Actually, that'd look pretty good. I'm just going to glue my leaves down right like this. Before doing this, if you're working with flowers or whatever, if you would like to flip this over and put score tape around the back side like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on either side to get it ready, you can. I'm going to do mine after the fact. So all I'm doing is just kind of bringing my leaves out here. Next, I'm going to take this one, and this gets glued down completely. Alright, we'll just grab a couple flowers and stick them right like that. And if you're wondering what colors I actually used for some of my flowers, I think these are the Tim Holtz. This one was Dusty Concord, and that one was Seedless Preserves. We'll do something like that. I'm going to take this bird and I'm going to kind of just place him right there, and then this one's going to go right there. Alright, for this guy, we're just going to stick him right like that. You know, I think I would like to back this though with some white cardstock to let it really stick out. So I'm going to take this. I have some more right here. I'll cut out and around really quick. That won't take me but a minute to get this done. It's up to you if you'd like to do that or not. I am. And as you can see, it kind of pops it out a little more. Where do I want to place this? Wow. I think I'll just go right here. Page 3 is complete. When everything's dry, score tape around the back side, unless you already did it, one down the middle and one on each side, and I will meet you at the book. All right, my score tape is off and I got glue down there just in case. We're going to go to page 3. We're going to come in from the side and we're just going to place that. There we go. And we will burnish. So there is our page 3. I think it looks quite beautiful. We are now moving on to page 4. We're on page 4 and we have quite a bit of pre-cuts. To start, if you're die cutting, die cut a couple of these. And you can leave yourself about 3/4 of an inch of trim down here. Pre-cuts. The first one on our list was a 6.5 by 10 inch, and we call this a large right FO, fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 6.5 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. Next, we had a 6 1/8 by 6 3/4, and we called this a left fold out, FO. What we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we are 6 3/4 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 5/8. We then had a 6 1/8 by 6 15/16, and we called it a right fold out. We laid this on our scoring board, so we are 6 15/16 across. We scored at a 1/2 and 3/4. We had a 4.5 by 6 5/8. We called it an inside pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 4.5 inches across and we scored it at a 1/2 inch. We then rotated it, so now we are 6 5/8 across. We scored at a 1/2 and we scored at 6 1/8. We next had a 2.5 by 7 inch piece. We called it just a pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 2.5 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2. We turned it. Now we are 7 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 and 6.5. Just a little pocket. Last piece to our puzzle, 4 1/4 by 6 1/8, and we called it a left flip. We laid this down. We are 6 1/8 across, and we just scored it at a 1/2 inch. Let's get our decorated paper ready to go. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it's this. We're going to take off that trim piece. We're going to look at our paper so that, let's see here. We're going to turn it sideways. All the purple flowers are going like this. We're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. After making that cut, you'll have this. Put that in your reserves. We'll now look at it like this. We'll measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you'll have. Put that in your reserves. Now let's flip this over, make sure our writing is going the right way. This one, it really doesn't matter if you get it upside down because it's so faint in the background. You can't, it's hard to see, at least for me. Let's begin. The first one we want is that large right fold out. And we're just going to fold on those score lines. Get some of these ready to go and get it where we want it. Okay, our hinge is going to be off to the right, and you have an inside score line and an outside. On that outside one, we're going to pinch and crease so you will still be able to see your other score line. All we're going to do with this is just hook that right on back behind. It should be the same height as your paper. We'll pinch, we'll hold it, and we're going to glue down the flap. Okay, we won't push back just yet on the other score line. We're just going to inspect, make sure no glue seeped out. Next, what we want is that 6 1/8 by 6 3/4 left fold out. And we're going to fold on that score line. Both of them actually. And we're going to get that hooked on. So hinges off to the left. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other one. And we're just going to hook that somewhere right in the middle of our page. Hook it back behind, pinch, hold it, glue down the flat. And then we'll check to make sure no glue seeped out. That looks good. Next, we're going to grab our right fold out, the 6 1/8 by 6 15/16. Start folding on those score lines. Okay, while this is still flat, that's the easiest way to get this on. So don't push back on that other score line on this. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease because our hinge is off to the right. And we're going to slide it back behind and line it up with this one, top and bottom, as best you can. And then we're going to glue this down. Then we can start getting our paper, decorative paper. So just do the best you can. I'm going to open that up. No glue seeped out. Great. We're just going to open that right up until we can see the inside of that large fold out. In your reserves, you will have this piece. On the back, it looks like this. First thing I want you to do is just measure over 7 inches and cut. Go ahead and stick this in your reserves. And now we'll just turn it this way. We're going, actually turn it this way so that we have part of the cutoff over here, just in case we can get some of this to save. Measure over 5 5/8. Sorry about that. 5. Let's try this again. 5 5/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have, and we do have some flowers over here that we could use or use this as a trim. What I want you to do is flip this over, and you're going to center that side to side. So you'll have a little bit of white over here, and you will have a white border before you hit that score line. So you'll just want to do that. Shift it down so you have the same amount of white border up here, and we're just going to glue that right on down. All right. We have that down. Let's work on the inside pocket. Cut out the squares on either side, fold, and we'll assemble it. So die cutters and everyone, you can glue your pocket down. Die cutters, you'll just want to place this straight across and do like we did before at the ends, and you can use your scoring board to get that, but you'll want to put that at the top. And then you're just going to glue your pocket down once you've assembled it, just like that. And I'm going to go take a break. The dogs are going nuts right now. It's a good time for me to take a break, get some coffee, and I'll be back as soon as they quiet down. All right, let's hope that the dogs have quieted down and gotten used to the fact that Brian is outside working in the yard. So we have this down. And in your reserves, you will have this strip. And I think it's 12 inches long and approximately 3 3/4 this way. We're going to measure over 5 5/8 and cut. Now, once you make that cut, if you were just to place this down and center it side to side, you'll have a white border, and we're going to leave a white lip and a little white down here. We're just going to glue that right on down. I think that that will work good. And I'm trying to conserve the best I can on paper because this is a large album. And this page has a lot of fold outs. So I'm just going to do the best I can here and kind of center that in, and it'll still look good. Alrighty, that is done. We're going to flip that in. And now we're going to push back against that, if you haven't already done that, and kind of press it so it is flat on the side. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, it's this. Now, we've already cut out over here, so we'll leave that empty space down here. We're just going to measure over 5 5/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to put that back in our reserves. We're going to go ahead and turn it this way, measure over 9 7/8 and cut. We're going to flip that over. We're going to apply glue, And we're going to center that in there. That should give us white up here, the sides and bottom. We're going to glue that down. We're going to come on over here on the left fold out. In your reserves, you will have this print. And on the back, it is this. Let's flip this upside down. We're going to measure over 5 7/8 and cut. This is the piece that we want, and let's see if we need to trim this down anymore. But if we were to place this over, be mindful you have that score line over here, and if you'd like, you can push back against that at this time, kind of situate that. This piece, if you shimmy it over and leave yourself a little bit of a white border over here, this will be plenty enough to fit in there. Don't glue it down just yet. We want to grab our left flip. So all we did was verify. We're going to hook this on, just like this. We could set this off to the side for just a moment. Hook that on. Kind of center that if you can. Flip it over. And we'll glue that down. Well, that was short-lived. In your paper pack, you will find this print. We're going to need some things off this. On the back, it looks like this. Let's take off that trim piece. So right now, what we're going to do is, I'm going to put that over here too, grab my paper cutter, is get some pieces off here. And since we're at it, I'm going to have you cut to divide these trim pieces first. I'm just going to stick that in my reserves. I'm going to cut the other one. That goes in reserves about here. We'll put that one in our reserves. We'll move on over here and we're going to cut between this one and this one. Cut this one in half. I think I tried it there. We'll just hold these off to the side. And now what we're going to do is cut between here and here. That one's a little bit more difficult. This one I'm going to put in my reserves. And we're going to cut off this little tag and put that in my reserves. So we took care of a lot of cutting. Let's grab this back out. Place this on top. It should give you a nice white border all the way around. We might use that other one, but for now let's use this. And I think I want to use something else other than the panel for the inside. We'll flip that up. Alright, the piece that I wanted to use I can't seem to locate. So we'll just grab this back out of reserves, we'll flip it over, and we will glue that down right on in there. Just like that. Yeah, I couldn't locate. There was a piece I wanted to use. I saw it earlier, but not finding it right now. So that is what we should have. We'll bring this back. Now, before you apply glue, what I'd like you to do is just verify you're going to fit in there again. And you should. Let's glue this down on the inside of that fold out. Today may have not have been a good day for me to film, but I wanted to take a break from doing the other things that I had to get done. That's why it's been taking so long too, plus, you know, things going on this month. And I think that's going to look really pretty. Okay, we'll fold that over. Let's first get our 2.5 by 7 inch pocket ready to go. If you are die cutting, this is where you're going to use your other die cut the same way. So we will just lay that evenly side to side, get that down. So just going to line that up, try to do the best I can. Hi, Sissy. I don't know if you could see her little snout right here. She's come to say hi. Yeah, you can't go outside right now. Hi. Okay, fold. Okay. And we can glue down these flaps. And if you have any pokies, you can just fold those in from the side. Hi, sis. Yeah, I know. You've let me know several times there's somebody out there. Okay, we're going to set this off to the side, and we're going to find our paper, because what's going to happen is this is going to come right on in here, and we're going to have paper back here, but we'll have to set the magnet right over here so it will latch on to this side. This is a pretty print that we had cut. We'll have to cut it down, but I think that that might look really nice in the background. The first one is we're just going to measure over 5 7/8. So I trimmed that off. Let's turn it sideways. Measure over 5 7/8 and cut. Now let's try this. Being mindful of that score line. So place this down right here. It'll fit. Let's glue it down. And I'm going to leave myself spacing away. You definitely want to leave at least 1/8 of an inch away from that score line sitting right here. So that's a good measurement to try and do. Now we can glue this down. Okay, for here we have a lot of beautiful prints we could be using. In your reserves you will find this. And you're going to measure over, let's see, 5 7/8 and cut. Okay, so once you have that, we have to put our magnet down. So let's grab a plus and a minus. I think I got these. What we got? Plus and a minus. Before we do anything, I almost placed it. So come in about 1 inch. Now let's get our paper down that we just did. I started gluing it. And we will place that. Okay, the mate, place it here. And make sure you've pushed back on that other score line on that, and this is where you just even them up as best you can if yours is crooked. And we press, and we can open that up. And all we need to do now is find our paper right here. Now we set both of these off to the side, and then of course we need to get our paper here. So I was thinking this would be a good one to just place right here. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll have this over here. So I'm going to glue that down. The trellis on that side. I can. It should fit. Just fit. Have a little bit of white border over there. That should latch. Now it's time for this one. So we'll apply glue, and we're just going to glue that right on down. And I think that looks really good. And we gave ourselves enough spacing on this right top fold out so you can get some things in that pocket. I think that looks really nice. Now let's open this up. There is a couple things I would like to do. In your reserves you will find this, and our little thing here is a little bit cut off. I'm going to go ahead and put this on my paper cutter and cut, and I'll show you what mine looks like in just a moment. So that is what I did. I did cut off the purple because there is no purple going across, and I'll just kind of get this at an angle. And down here. Now I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock scrap. I'm going to apply glue. I'm going to glue this down and leave a white, and cut out and around, leaving a white border. I think we're going to hang this kind of halfway off to the side. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here and here. And then that way, without going past the bottom, I can just have this little bit off to the side. And I of want to see if this flower, it kind of matches in with some of the blues and everything. I just want to close to make sure this is going to close and latch. I'm going to leave out this flower. I'm going to go with something a little bit flatter, and I think I can just flatten this out, to be honest. And that's what I'm going to do. Just flatten it out more. And then that way I get my pretty little flower. Looks good. We'll leave the rest alone so you can place photos here, and you can still get one down in here or tuck something back. That looks good to me. Now, there was something else I saw I just wanted to probably use. I think that this is a good spot right down here. This is in your reserves. This came off from when we were cutting all those things. And I'm not going to back it. I'm just going to glue it down. Right at the bottom. Okay. Now one thing is this large one has to go down first, then this and this, otherwise you're not going to latch. So we are done with this page. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. We're going to go one down the middle and two on each side. I have the score tape backing off. Again, we're definitely going to need to stay at least a 1/4 inch away. I'm going to grab something to kind of put back behind this page 4 so you can see what I'm doing there. On this particular one, you're definitely gonna, what's gonna probably happen is the side of your fold out is probably gonna be lined up almost with this, but we'll see here. I think right about here should be fairly straight. That's in, and we will burnish. Okay, this one is complete. We are now on page 5. We're on page 5. There are no pre-cuts. This is just going to be an open page for photo placement. So the first thing you're going to want to do is locate this in your paper pack. On the back it looks like this. Let's take off that trim piece. Once you've taken the trim piece off, what we're going to do is we'll turn this sideways. We're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Place this in your reserves. We'll turn it back. We will measure over 8 1/4 and cut. So this is what we have. There is something in our reserves. We have this little piece. Let's grab our scissors. And this one right here, we're going to cut out. And I'm going to make sure I leave that dark purple. There's my piece. We're just going to glue that down right here. We're not going to back that. We don't need to. I don't think it's going to get lost in the background with the colors. Next, I'm just going to add some flowers. And I think I'm just going to grab what I got here. Now, I have these two that I just kind of made. And I still have to do my glossy accents. But I'm just going to place them kind of like this, I think. Something like that. So before I do anything, because my prills are still wet, we're going to flip this over. We're going to apply score tape to the back like a picture frame, one down the middle and one on either side, and we're going to place this in our book. So here is my page, and I'm going to come in like we have, a good 1/4 inch. And place this. Okay, I'm just going to start laying these flowers. I think I'll put one here. The prills on this one are dry. This is one that was made for a different tutorial. But it's these two that, I'm going to bring this up, that are still wet. Page 5 is complete. We're now moving on to page 6. We're on page 6 and we have some pre-cuts we're going to review. The first one is a 5 5/8 by 9.5 inch piece. We called it a book base. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 9.5 inches across. We scored at 4 5/8 and 4 7/8. And book base. Next, we cut 4 pieces that were 5 by 5.5, and we called these our book page. And what we ended up doing on these is we laid it on our scoring board, so we are 5 inches across, and we scored each one at a half. Instructions said you only needed to label one of these. So on all 4. Our last one, and I'm going to bring it up, is a 1 1/4 by 2.5 inch strap. And what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 2.5 inches across. We scored at 3/4 and 1 inch. Now really quick, what I want you to do so we don't get confused is we are going to leave the word strap on. Oh, that did not sound right. We're going to leave our writing the word strap. Now notice we have a short side, and we're just going to put short. And then we have the larger area, and we're just going to put long. So it's longer before you hit the score lines. All right, let's get our main decorated page out. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It is this. Let's take off that trim piece. The first thing that we want to do is once you take off the trim piece, we're going to turn it sideways. We're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you have. This piece here, put in your reserves. Next, we're going to flip it upside down. This is over here. We are going to measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. This piece goes in your reserves. Let's just flip that over, and we can see where the writing is on this. We'll set this off to the side, and we are going to work on our book base. Now, all we're going to do right now is fold on those score lines. And we're going to make sure that our sides are even on that. So with the peaks down, and if we were to open it up, you can see where your 2 score lines are. Now I'm going to put a little pencil mark on each one of mine so you can see better what I'm doing. That's where my score lines are. On each one of your book pages here, we're going to fold on those score lines. Now we did write on one of these, and this is a great time to erase it. Just erase what you wrote, and we wrote on that lightly. Okay. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue. My peak is up to this. I'm going to pull it back, and you see where my score line over here is, the right-hand score line? I'm going to bring that right on up next to it and try to center this top and bottom. So we'll do that together. We just want to make sure it fits in there and it's not higher than it should be. So it fits in there nicely. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Like I said, we are working on the right side of the score line. So try to get that in there as even as I can. I think that's pretty even. And then, so once you do that, you can go ahead and burnish. Okay, we're going to flip that back. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to apply glue, we'll pull it back, and this one goes directly on top of this one. So you can line it up with that. Whoops. So I'll pull that back and then just match it up so it's even with this other one. As best I can anyway. I think that's pretty good. and I'm going to burnish. Open it up, make sure no glue seeped out, and burnish. Now on the left side, we're going to do the same thing. So here's my hinge, here's my peak. We're just making a little book, and we will do the same thing. And I'll erase my pencil lines here in just a moment. I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to erase those while I can. Okay, so I have that one down. And we're going to do the same routine. Glue, and now it goes on top of this one. I think that's pretty good. And I'll open it up and burnish from that side and make sure no glue seeped out. So there is our book base. Now the opening, and we have our little 1/4 inch spacing there, the opening is going to be right like that. So let's first grab our strap. And we did write on there short and longer, so let's fold on that score line. So the short side, and this is upside down, is going to wrap around to the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm on this short side score line, I will pinch. I'll still be able to see the other one. Make sure that this is even, and I'm just going to bring that in there, and then I'm going to flip it over, kind of like when we do our fold outs, and I'm going to glue this to the back. So that's what's going to keep us closed once we get the magnet. Now that I have that, I can just erase that. It's going to get covered anyway. So here's our long side. I'll erase that. And I'm just going to rewrite it so you can see it better. Now we have another one we can push back on. And we're going to open it up. Now first we need to find our decorative paper before we do anything. In your reserves, you will find this piece. This is what it looks like on the back. And this is the front. We're going to measure over, first let me give you a measurement here so you can find the right one. This is 2 1/4 inches by 12 inches long. So I'm looking at it like this. The majority of the large flowers are over here. Let's measure over 1 3/8 and cut. So this is what you should have. We're going to turn it this way so that the flower is over here. We're going to measure over 1 1/8 and cut. When you make that cut, you'll get 2 pieces. This piece over here, just hold it off to the side. We can use that too. So let's verify that this is actually going to fit. And it should, giving you a white border. We're just going to glue it down. So we're on the outside of that. The opening is here. And we'll just get that in there the best we can. I think that's pretty good. Let's open that up, and we're going to just check and see. I think that that is an okay fit for that. So let's get our magnet. We're going to need a plus and a minus. We're going to come in from the edge, a good 1/2 inch, and try to center that. And now all we have to do is place this down. I'll make sure I get around that. Now with this one, we're going to need to make sure we use our tool to get around that magnet, and so our paper will lay down. Now let's grab the minus, we'll place it on top, and before you flip it over, remember we have a spacing here. Make sure that this is good. Make sure you're not pulling it all the way over. Make sure you leave that spacing, and then you can just place it. So that's down. We're going to be using some scraps. So in your reserves you will find this piece, This is partially cut off here, and it looks like this. I'm going to give you a measurement because there are some pieces in there that are similar. This is 3.5 inches by 8 inches. Next, you're going to find one that is 12 inches by 2 inches. What we're going to do is we're going to look at it like this. So the flowers are down here, flowers are down here. On both of these, it's going to be the same cut. On these, measure over 5 3/8 and cut. So what you have here is this. Now, we are going to conserve on paper. So what we're going to do, and here is our opening, we're going to be laying these down like this. And we can put that one back underneath. So it ends up looking like this. You will not see any upside down writing by the time we are done. So the first one down is this one. We do have something that's going to go over this and make it very pretty. And you're going to leave just a little bit of a white border on the sides. Try to get this in there as even as you can. And then when you place this, the green is over here. So basically what I'm trying to do is match up some of this green with my previous page as well as our base page. So now we just kind of even that up as best we can, and we're going to burnish. In your reserves, you will find this. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter. Notice where we have a purple line here. We're going to cut around, leaving just the purple border line around this piece. So let's do this together so we have the same leftovers. The first cut is going to be this way, and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to try and retain that purple as best I can. I think right about there. So as you can see, I left the purple, and the rest is with this. So that'll go in my reserves. And I'm just going to keep going with it, trying to leave that purple so I don't cut it off. And then down here. And then on the side, I'm going to just take off just a little bit. So all of this can go in my reserves. This is the final piece. This piece is going to lay right here. But first, what I'd like us to do is grab a piece of your white cardstock. We are going to glue this down, leaving a 1/16 inch border. We'll cut it around here. So let's do that really quick. And that will bring this forward. It'll look really nice. Place that down. And now I'll cut out and around it. And I'm going to use my paper cutter. So that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to apply glue, and I'm going to glue that down. You see the difference there? It just kind of brought that forward. So I'm going to center it on in there and glue it down. And we get some of that green border. That looks pretty good. So before we get this down to our base page here, let's open this up. Now these inner pages, at the end of the tutorial, if you want to use some of the decorative paper to place in here, you can. Or you can use solid colored cardstock, which is always a good idea for conserving and laying it down. But I would like to place some on the inside here and here. In your reserves, you will have this long piece. It's 12 inches, and it is just about 4 inches. So I think it's about 3 15/16 or so. At least mine is. We're going to look at it like this. We're going to make 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 5 3/8 cut. We'll measure over again 5 3/8 and cut. This is what you should get. On the inside, we're going to apply glue, and all we're going to do is kind of center it on in there, in between our little hinge over here. And to the very, very back, or front I should say, we're going to do the same thing, just center it. So we're going to glue that in there. All right, let's close it up. I think that looks really good. Now, when we do this, we're going to make it so you can also tuck back behind. So on this, here's the front, here's the opening. We're going to rotate it over, and we're just going to place a line of glue down this side and across the bottom. And we'll just place that. I'm going to come in probably 1/4 inch from the side and from the bottom, or even 1/8, whatever you'd like to do. So once I have it there, I'm going to open this up, and I am going to make sure that this is down pretty good. There it is. Now I want to show you something. I have a photograph here, and I made this book big enough to where you can place photos, a larger photo actually, if you wanted, than this. But this is a good way to just use up some of that space. And if you wanted to border it, you can border it right in there and cut more pieces. If you want larger pieces, you can do that too. A very faint pastel purple would look good for solid colored cardstock to place in here, or even this like green color if you have it. All right, let's close it up. Page 6 is complete. It looks really good, and I want to show you something really quick. I'm going to grab this out of reserves, but as you can see, you can still tuck back behind picture mats, and you can also get a photograph right on up in there too, or photograph right here to kind of sidestep. That look really good, and then you can always tuck your photos on mats or whatever right back behind. So that's just an idea. All right, score tape around the back side like a picture frame, 1 down the middle. And for this, I think we're going to go 1 on each side, and we're going to want to squirt some glue, I think, in between there. And then I'm going to meet you at the book. So I have my score tape off, and I've scribbled some glue in between. Same thing, we're going in 1/4 inch, and we are going to place that. I have glue down below to help me maneuver this. There we go. And all we're going to do is take a moment to burnish down. Don't forget to get down right in here where we left that space, and down underneath, and then we can open this up and burnish. Get the rest of that down underneath there. We are now on to page 7. We are on page 7, and we have some pre-cuts. So the first one, we have a 2-inch by 10-inch. We just called it a band. There is no scoring on that. Next, we have a 5.5 by 11-inch piece, and it's a large side pocket. And what we ended up doing on this is we laid it on our scoring board. We are 5.5 inches across. We scored it at 1/2. We then rotated it. We are 11 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 10.5. Large side pocket. Next, I thought we would do a folder together, and this is a 6 by 12-inch piece. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 12 inches across, and we just scored it right at 6 inches. And I'll show you how this folder will come in handy when the time comes. Next, we had a 5 3/4 by 10-inch, and what we ended up doing is placing this on our scoring board. We are 5 3/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4. This one's called our left fold out. This one's our right fold out, and this is 6 by 10. Now on this one, we put this on so we were 6 inches across. We scored at 1/2 inch, and we ended up scoring at 11/16. So I just used my ruler to do 11/16, lined it up with a score line, and scored. We had a 4.5 by 6 inch. We called it our right pocket. We place this on our scoring board. We are 4.5 inches across. We scored it at a half. We turned it. We are 6 inches across. We scored at a half, and 5.5. Right pocket. The last one is 4.5 by 5.75. This is our left pocket. We place this on our scoring board. We are 4.5 across. We scored at a half. We turned it. Now we are 5.75 across. We scored it at a half, and we scored it at 5.25. All right. We'll be done with this in no time. In your paper pack, you will find this gorgeous purple print. On the back, you have these panels. Let's first take off that trim piece. Looking at it like this, we're going to turn it sideways. So these are going this way. We're going to measure over 10 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. This goes in our reserves. Now, turn it this way. This is up here. Measure over 8.25 and cut. All right, flip it over. Check to see if you can even see the writing, if it's going the right way. If you get it upside down, chances are you aren't going to be able to tell. Let's begin with our large side pocket. We're going to do what we always do on our pockets. We're going to cut out the little squares. We're going to fold back, and we're going to assemble this with glue. Okay, on this particular one, the opening is here. So we are going to apply glue to this, and we're just going to place it right on down. All right, we're going to get on some of our fold outs. We want our left fold out. And we're just going to fold. Hinges off to the left. This is our left fold out. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease. We'll still be able to see our other score line. We're just going to hook that right on back. That should fit top to bottom. We'll turn it over. We'll get this on. It's a big fold out. Lots of places. Let's grab our right fold out, and we're going to do the same thing. Folding on the score lines, and we are going to attach it. So hinge off to the right, the outside score line, pinch and crease, and we're just going to hook it on there so it's even. That looks pretty even to me. I guess I'll find out when I open this flap up just how even. Yep, that's it. Okay, now if your writing at this point is upside down, you may want to put an R and an L so that you do not get yours turned around. So we can go ahead and fold back on these fold outs and kind of push it in until we have our spacing. And we can always double check that. Let's open it up. Here is our nice big side pocket. We're going to find our paper for this. In your reserves, you will have these pieces. Now this is the cutoff from this, and it's 10 inches. Remember those trim pieces that we cut early on? They're 12 inches, and they look like this on the back. We're going to need that. We're going to, on all three of these, looking at them like this, we're going to measure over 9 7/8 and cut on all three. Here are all my pieces. The idea of this is I'm going to be centering this top and bottom. I'll just have a little sliver of white. I'm going to leave white little border on the side of that pocket. This one, same thing. It's going to go right on over here. And I'll be able to see maybe a 1/16 of white on that pocket. And then this one is just going to go right on next to this one. So I'm going to just start by doing this one first and move it over. Make sure this is not upside down. Again, it doesn't, I think it's so faint on the writing, I don't think it's really going to matter if you accidentally do, because I just don't think you're going to be able to tell. Okay, this one, right next to it. And then this last one, right here, and it will leave me a white border. So it's mine's gonna overlap just a little bit onto the flowers, that trim. So there's my side pocket. There's some of that trim, that looks good. Okay, next thing, where did it go? I had it. We're looking for our band. Aha, here is our band. It's the 2x10. Now when you place this, you're going to want to place this so that you have, from the side of your pocket, at least 5/8. And when we glue that, okay, I'm going to glue it on the side that has the writing, but you're only going to put glue here and here. This is our band. So about 5/8 from the edge. I think that's pretty good. In your reserves, you will have this long strip. It's 12 inches, and on the back it looks like this. So look at it like this, with the flowers up at the top. Measure over 1 7/8 and trim that. So it was just a little bit coming off. Now we're going to measure over, let's do 9 7/8 and cut. If you are not die cutting, you will just place that right on in there, giving you a white border all the way around, and glue it down. Okay, die cutters. Now this is risky for those of you that are beginning die cutters, so you might want to try this on a piece of your white cardstock first until you get the technique down. All I'm going to do is take one of these brackets, I'm going to center it top and bottom, and that's important because I want the same amount of decorated paper showing up here than here. Okay, and kind of center it here and here. If you need to do a little pencil mark, which would be very helpful, just kind of put a pencil mark where you think it needs to be and centering it as best you can. You'll know where to place it. So once you run that through the die cutter, then you're going to piggyback and do it again on each side. I'm going to do mine. I'm going to let you look and see. Now if you go ahead and try and do this and you mess up, okay, what you can do is wait till the end of the tutorial, find another piece of cardstock, maybe a trimming, something similar like that, and do it again, or just place it down and not worry about the die cutting. So I'm going to give it a try here and see if mine comes out. You never know. I may mess up and the plate could move on me or whatever. But let me show you first what it looks like before you do. And then you can make your own decision. So here is mine. And I'll show you. And what you can always do, instead of die cutting all the way to the end, if you only want to do one to see, but this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and go with this. I'm going to have my flowers up here, and I'm going to make sure I'll get down these. It's all glued down, and that's what I'm doing. So it's going to take me a minute to get this all glued down, and I will be right back as soon as I'm done. Otherwise, it's going to take me forever to sit here and show you all this gluing I'm trying to do. But you'll want to get detailed on some of these finer pieces. Okay, I have mine down. I really like the looks of that. I'm going to bring it up a little bit easier to see. I'm going to set that off to the side. Let's grab our folder, 6x12 folder. And we're just going to fold on that. The opening is going to be off to the right. In your paper pack, you will find this on the back. It is this. Let's take off the trim piece. All right, now that we have this, what we're going to do is turn it this way. We're just going to put this on our paper cutter and we're going to cut straight down. So this is what we did. This goes in our reserves. Now we'll divide this way. So, this is the piece that we want. And what we're going to do is take 1/16 off each side. So just a 16th off each side. So I'm just going to go around and then I'm going to check and see, but I think that's going to fit, hopefully. Okay, last side. All right. Opening is here, and we've got some beautiful flowers. I'm not sure if it matters, but once you do that, this should fit right on in there. So let's glue that down. So I have that down. I'm going to wait to put anything in there. This is where this comes in. You see this band? This just hooks right on in there, like so. Isn't that neat? I like that. You can also pile in some picture mats in there. Let's see what I have. Well, I have this, but I mean, I want to show you. You can also get in picture mats in here to hold in there if you wanted. So there's that. We'll just leave it there. We have 2 pre-cuts left. They're our pocket. While we're at it, let's get these pockets assembled on each one. We're going to do it the same way we have been, cutting out corners, assembling, and don't erase any writing because you're going to need to know your left from your right pockets. And once we assemble, we can just kind of stick those off to the side. We're going to be working on the inside right, but first, before we do anything, I want us to place our magnets so we do not forget. Grab a plus and an A minus. We're going to bring this right on over to the left. Center it top and bottom, come in maybe an inch. Take the mate, put it on top. Okay. Make sure that your spacing is good. So now that that's placed, we don't have to worry about forgetting, because it's easy to forget sometimes. In your reserves, you will find these on the back side. It looks like this. And this is about 12 inches long. This one's about 10 inches long, I believe. Let's take a look. It's 10.5 or 10 5/8 long, actually. And it's about 2 1/4. So it looks like this, and on the back it looks like this. And this one, we're just going to flip over looking at it like this as well. So we have the same leftovers. We're going to measure over 9 7/8 and cut. Okay, you can flip this one over. We'll make sure that the writing is going the right way. And we'll have the purple over here. Now, mindful of your score line there, I also would like you to grab your right pocket. Now, you may want to get your pencil for this for proper placement. But first, give yourself about 1/8 inch away from that score line, your outside score line there. Center, top, and bottom. We'll just make a little pencil mark there. Now take this one and lay it on top, and you'll leave 1/8 inch away from this side, so we have a little bit of this coming out. Now place your right pocket over it. It should cover side to side. Now, if you can see some of your paper peeking out, move in this way, if you can, to make sure that your paper is hidden. So I'm going to take a look. That looks good like that. And I'm more like 3/16 inch away or so with my thing. I'll just go right here, move it away. And now I'm going to place this. So I just want to make sure that my pocket is going to fit nicely. So if we have to move in more, 1/4 inch away or more, we will. So let's get this down. And that's why I had us lay down the pocket, just to be sure there. And I'll probably double check myself as well. And we got some neat little transitioning of colors. Here is our pocket. We can go ahead and apply glue and place that. Die cutters, to get ready for this, go ahead and die cut one of these and then trim it down to where you have maybe 1/8 of an inch underneath your trim. On each one. In your reserves, you will have this piece. On the back, it is this. Looking at it to where you have this floppy piece there, we're going to measure over 7 1/16 and cut. This is what you should have right now. Put that in reserves. And I wanted to make sure we got a nice clean cut on the side and we didn't have to use the other thing. But right now what I want you to do is turn it upside down, measure over 3 7/8 and cut. That ended up cleaning up, and this goes in our reserves. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Put the small little piece back in reserves. This should fit right on here. Give me a little white border here, here. You'll want one at the top. Let's glue that down. I think this print is really pretty. Now, if you accidentally cut into yours when you were using your paper cutter, perhaps you have one like mine when we were doing our cuts before, earlier in the tutorial, don't worry about it. This print will hide it. Okay, if you are die cutting and you've got your piece ready, we're just going to place this down, and I'm going to try and center this so that I have this here and this here. Get my pencil out, make my pencil marks, and I will cut. And then I'm going to glue it down, kind of how I had it, just like that. So that side is done, and I think that looks pretty. Let's work on getting our paper for this, and that's pretty easy. And although we have writing going this way, I don't think it's really gonna, let's see, I think this is the last of our pink colored. We're gonna use it. It's just gonna have to go like this. So looking at it like this, on the back it looks like this. We're gonna measure over 9 7/8 and cut. Now measure over 4 3/4 and cut. And you know what? Let's look at it like this when we do that. Have your little house over here, measure over 4 3/4 this way. That way we have leftovers this side. We'll flip it over, we will maneuver it right on in there and center and glue it down. Again, it does not matter that it is not going the right way. I mean, if you want to go that way, you can too with this side up. But I'm going to use that really pretty pink. Let's grab this back out of our reserves. On the back, it looks like this. What we're going to do is put this on our paper cutter just to the left. And I would say just to the left of this purple flower. We're going to put this on our paper cutter and we're going to cut. Now it's going to cut through this little piece, but I'm not too concerned with it. All we're looking to do is get a nice cut away from the other stuff, a nice clean cut. We're going to cut out and around this piece right here. I'll show you mine as soon as I am done. And I'm pretty much just going to weave, I think. Make things a little easier. If you have any leftover scraps, put them away, but I just kind of weaved around mine. I didn't get real detailed, as you can see. I'm going to place that out of the way. It is time to get some white scratch cardstock. We will apply glue, we'll glue it down, and then we're going to cut out and around, leaving about a 1/16 inch border. And then I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. Here is mine. I think I would like to place this right down here in the corner to make a little pocket or a tuck. So if you're looking at this, rotate it over. We're going to get just a little bit on the bottom. And then right over here where you see you have kind of something right here, I think I'll just dab a little. Oh, that's quite a bit. And so underneath this little part is where the glue is, and on the bottom, I'm going to make sure I don't go off my page. I'm just going to kind of do something like that. And then now you can stick something in here. Hey, I think that looks pretty good. Let's close it up. This side, let's get our paper. In your paper pack you will find this. Now on the back it's this print, so don't mix it up with the other one, but this is the one we want. Let's take off the trim piece. Okay, we're going to look at it like this. Here are our pink flowers. We're going to rotate it. So now you have all the leaves up here. We're going to measure over 9 7/8 and cut. So there's that. Next, with the leaves over here, measure over 5 1/8 and cut. Apply glue, and we're going to make sure our writing, if we can see it, is so hard to tell, but we're just going to center that, glue that down right on in that panel. I really love these colors together. All right, I have that down. We'll close that up. It's time to get our paper for this. All right, in your reserves you will have this piece. Let's see, there's the top here, and there's lattice over here. On the back it is this. We're going to flip it to where the lattice is on this side. Okay, we have the lattice over here. Hang tight. Also in your reserves you will find this piece. This piece is approximately 1 inch by 7 inches, so it'll be laid down like this. We're going to do the same cut on all of these. You'll also have this in your reserves. This is about 2 7/8 by about 6, I can line this up, 6 3/8, about somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay, so on all 3 of these, measure over 4 3/4 and cut. So all 3 of these, 4 3/4. After making all those cuts, so I'm going to show you how this is going to place. So this is up in the corner. We will come down, probably about a 1/16 or even 1/8 from the top is fine, and center it side to side. Then what's going to happen is, here's the opening of our left pocket. This is going to place on top. So you want to make sure that when you place it, it covers this edge. So if you need to come down just a little bit more and make a pencil mark, you can. Okay, so that's where that would go. This one here. And you'll also have the same amount of spacing showing our white cardstock from the bottom of our piece, our pocket. Next, what's going to happen is this one lays down at the bottom of our pocket. This piece goes right on top. It will fit and it will leave you a white border. And if you're die cutting, this is where this comes into play right there. So we'll do it step by step. Now when we do this gluing down, we're not going to have this side up. I just did that so that it's easier for us to have the same directions. We're actually going to put glue on this side, I decided. And we'll make sure the writing is going the right way. Again, I cannot tell which way's what, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going to place that side. And so the next part is really easy. I'll just make sure when I place my pocket, it's covering the bottom edge of that. Now, I found that when teaching sometimes it's just so much easier to show you what we're going to be doing first, and that way people know what's coming up, and then they're kind of not flying blind, especially when we're kind of doing layering here. If you prefer to, if you're not die cutting, if you prefer to have that up, do so, but I really think the smaller flowers looks really nice. And now I'm just going to do the same thing, kind of find out where the middle part is there. I think right about there. And I'm going to cut this to fit and glue it down. Our page 7 is complete. Now at the end of the tutorial, if you want to add more things to yours, you can. My idea for this was to try and keep a clean look, but if you want to add more stuff, lace, whatever you want to do, more flowers, just keep in mind the spacing in between your pages. So we're going to flip that over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, 1 down the middle, 2 on each side, and I will meet you at the book. And we can add some flowers if we wanted to, and leaves. I have the score tape backing off. I squirt glue under there. Remember, your pocket is right here, so don't put this in upside down. Here's page 7. We're going to come a 1/4 inch away. Now on this one, you can even bring it all the way to the edge. We have that white strip there. I think I might do that with this one. Bring it all the way to the edge of my page, which will keep me where I need to be. And now we burnish. All right, we are now on to page 8, which is very simple. And again, don't run away after we're done with page 8. We have to reinforce the hinges, and we may add a few final touches to certain pages.